I thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing all our hearts to be open to this. Holy Spirit, I'm listening to you. So I thank you for this word being received just as you had me write it. Stop looking for confirmation when you have already been confirmed. Stop waiting to move and apply what you have learned. Stagnation and comfort is your enemy. Where is your fire that burns? How big is your vision? How clear is the mission? Stop waiting for confirmation when you have already been confirmed. Stop waiting to, Stop waiting to move and apply what you have learned. Faith and precision, dedication and decisions. Start making results and stop just making wishes. The harvest is plentiful and the workers are few. His grace is enough, but how focused are you? Stop looking for confirmation when you have already been confirmed. Stop waiting to move and apply what you have learned. We've been silent long enough, repeating only what we've heard growing up. We've been in church for years, physically developing, but never spiritually growing up. We say milk is for babes and solid foods are for us. It's time to come off that island. We've rested long enough. He carried his cross with his mind on us. His mercies are new every day, and his grace is enough. Stop waiting for confirmation when Christ has already confirmed that we are more than conquerors. We should act like we've learned. Life requires balance. God wants obedience. The steps of a righteous man are ordered, and faith is the main ingredient. Healthy relationships, involvement in each other's lives with love. Gather together in unity. One body, one Lord, one mission. We are family.
All right, how many Lost fans we got? Yeah, I love Lost. If you need an awesome TV show to watch, binge watch Lost. And even binge watching it, it'll take you 3 years to finish. So today we're continuing our series called Lost. Everybody shout Lost. Lost, so you can make your dinner reservations early today, okay? So we're continuing our series Lost, coming off the island. Everybody shout, coming off the island. And today I wanted to ask you a question. Before you put the question up, don't put it up yet. Before we put the question up, how many of you know if you're going to come off an island, you have to come off an island via boat? Boat. I wanted a sailboat in here so bad, but it's the best I could do. So how cool would that have been to have a sailboat up here? That would have been pretty awesome. And I really want to preach inside of it, but I'm afraid I'll fall. So that would be embarrassing. So I'm not going to do that. So you're going to have to come off an island via boat, just like they did on Lost. I'm not going to say it. It would be, there's helicopters too. Yeah, but helicopters aren't in the Bible, so I'm using a boat so I can relate it to the Bible. Come on, somebody. Come on. So there's a boat, and it's going to take you from point A to point B. And so you're coming off the island. You're trying to live with people. You're trying to get out of seclusion. That's the whole point of this series, is coming off the island. Get out of seclusion. Do life with people. And be who God has called you to be. And so you ask the question, how am I supposed to come off this island? Because I know I'm not supposed to do life alone. So who am I supposed to do it with? And so my question to you today is, who's in your boat? Who's in your boat? Everybody say, who's in your boat? Who's in your boat? Bow your heads, we're going to pray. Dear Lord, I love you so much. God, I thank you for this opportunity to minister. God, I pray that I would just be a mouthpiece for you. God, I pray everything I say is straight from you in Jesus' name. And God, let me speak with boldness in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Everybody say, who's in your boat? That's my thought for today. We're in this series. If you haven't signed up for a life group, please sign up for a life group. We have a sign up. There's an L group booth in the foyer of the church. Sign up in a life group. You can't do life alone. You have to do life with people. Amen. We were created for people. We were created to have relationships. Who's in your boat? I would say to you today that whoever is in your boat is going to dictate the success of your mission. Tweetable moment. Tweetable moment. Whoever is in your boat is going to dictate if you make it or if you don't. Whoever is in your boat is going to dictate if it works or if it fails, if it's rocky or if it's smooth. Whoever is in your boat has more of an influence on your life than what you think. And most people don't like to ask themselves, who's in my boat? This is just like the last sermon I preached. This takes a lot of self-evaluation. Okay, you got to reflect. You got to really, truly evaluate yourself. And ask, who's in my circle? Who's in my boat? Who do I hang out with? Who's my fave five, right? Who's my fave five? Who are the people that I'm around who I bring over for dinner? Who I call when I have trouble? Who I talk to about my problems? Who's in my boat? Everybody say, who's in my boat? Who's in my boat? And I'm asking you to really think this through, really self-evaluate, because one person can change everything about your journey. And what I love about God is that he gave us scriptures to prove what I just said. Isn't that awesome? I love that. How many of you know that he gave us this thing called the Bible and its instructions, and if you open it, he'll tell you how to live your life. Yeah? Well, the Bible's boring. No, you're boring. Okay? All right? You're boring. I promise, my whole life growing up, I always told my youth pastor growing up, I don't like to read the Bible. The Bible's boring. I never one time opened my Bible. Never one time opened my Bible, but I always said, the Bible's boring. I ain't reading the Bible. I didn't know. There's some cool stories in the Bible, amen? You're boring. All right, I want to give you a couple examples of boats in the Bible today. And the first boat that I'm going to use, the first example is Jonah. I love Jonah. Everybody shout Jonah. Jonah. Jonah chapter 1, verse number 1. It says, the word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. So we're going to stop right there. A little bit of context of where we're at. So God is trying to find someone to go tell people what they need to hear and not what they want to hear. Y'all want to hear a confirmation story? So I was writing this sermon, and I wrote that. I said, God's looking for people to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And we had Kayla's going away party, and I wrote this like 20 minutes before the going away party. And this girl got up and said, Kayla's the type of friend who tells me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. And I went, I just got a text message from the Lord. Got a nugget. So God's looking for someone to tell these people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Because no one wants to hear, you're wicked. You're wicked. You're a horrible person. No one wants to hear that. And so God is looking to communicate what you need to hear and not what you want to hear, which leads me to an example, which is you need people in your life that tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. If all you have in your life is what you want to hear, people, then you have the wrong people in your life. You need some people that will tell you what you need to hear. And so Jonah, in this story, he gets this text message from God. He says, go to Nineveh. And Jonah does what 90% of us do, of what we do. He said, hey, go to the boat. And we're like, oh, no, going the other way, all right? We go the opposite way. He went the complete opposite direction. Verse number 3 says, but Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. Do you have people in your life that are running away from the Lord? Who's in your boat? He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. Then the Lord sent a wind on the sea. He sent a wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. And the sailors were afraid and cried out to their own God, and they threw cargo into the sea to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone below deck, where he lay down and fell into a deep sleep. Now, this is crazy. Let me show you something, okay? This storm, the storm that these sailors are experiencing wasn't because of anything that the sailors did. It was because of what Jonah did. God sent the wind because of Jonah's disobedience, not because of the sailors' disobedience. Which means, tweetable moment, which means some of you are experiencing storms and crazy times in your life, and it's not even your fault, it's because of who you're connected to. Come on, somebody. It's because of who you're connected to. That means there's someone in your boat that brings all the problems. Could it be that some of your frustration and some of your depression and some of your anxiety isn't because of what you did, but it's because of what someone else is doing in your boat? Some of the conflict in your marriage isn't even because of you and the other person. It's because of the voices on the outside that you're letting in that affect your marriage. Some of your financial problems aren't even because of your money. It's because you're letting the people tell you what to do. You're fine. You better buy that. Girl, you better buy that car. You deserve that car. Let me tell you, you deserve that car. You work hard. You deserve that car. And before you know it, you're broke. You better get that credit card. Just put it on your credit card. You'll be all right. You pay it back later. The journey would have been better without them. There wouldn't have been any wind. There wouldn't have been a storm or a loss of cargo. But the whole time this storm and this wind and this loss of cargo is happening, did you notice what Jonah was doing? Jonah's sleeping. Have you ever noticed that people in your world that bring all the problems, when those problems arise, they're sleeping? They aren't even fazed by it. You're the one trying to figure out, well, do I get a divorce or do I not get a divorce? And you're losing sleep, and they're over here. You're trying to figure out, how do I pay my bills because I have this mortgage and I bought this new car that I can't afford and I have to get my kids new school clothes and I got to get them school clothes or school supplies and you're trying to figure this out. And what's this person doing? I'm broke and you're asleep. Because people who cause the wind don't even care about it because they're running. If you have people that are running from God's voice and God's leading, they will always bring the wind with them because you can't escape God. God doesn't bring the wind for their punishment. He does it to get their attention. He says, I want you to know you can't get away from me. You can't run away. You can't move to a new city. You can't get a new batch of friends. You can't get a different job. But if you're running away from me, there will be wind trying to get your attention because the wind is in the running. And there's some of you, you just keep running and you think, well, if I just make more money, well, if I just get a different boo, if I get to a different place, it will get better, but it won't because the wind is in your running, not in the thing you're trying to get. And God loves you too much not to tell you. What I'm saying is if you've got someone in your boat that's on the run, the wind comes with it. And some of you are experiencing things, it's not even your fault, it's because of who's in your boat. Everybody say, who's in your boat? I really want a sailboat. Can we put that on the church card? Let's take a vote right now. Who's in your boat? You probably wouldn't even get high anymore if they weren't in your boat. You probably wouldn't even smoke pot anymore if they weren't in your boat. You probably wouldn't gossip anymore if they weren't in your boat. It's kind of funny when you don't have anyone in your life that parties anymore, you just don't party. Did he just say gossip and smoke pot? Yes, I did, because there's people that do it, and I'm trying to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Come on. So that was the first example. Everybody say Jonah. Now we're going to go to the next one. Next one, we're going to talk about this guy named Paul. Everybody say Paul. Paul. This guy Paul wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. Pretty smart guy, right? You better be smart, right? 2/3 of the New Testament. And he happens to be in jail at this time we're about to read about. And so they're transferring him from one spot of land to another spot of land, from point A to point B, using a, go figure, using a boat. And so they're on this journey, and it's not going well. The weather is getting crazy, and everything's going haywire, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And so we're going to pick up the story in Acts chapter 27, verse number 9. It says, much time had been lost, and the sailing had already become dangerous because by now it was the Day of Atonement. So Paul warned them, men, I can see that our voyage is going to be disastrous and bring great loss to ship and cargo and to our own lives also. Stop right there. Aren't you glad that God will send you someone who makes the right decisions to talk some sense into you when you don't know what to do? You need some people in your life that have been through some things, that have been further than you, that can tell you what you need to hear. And Paul is saying, hey, I've done this before. I've been on this boat before. I've been through this storm before. And I'm telling you, it's going to be a disaster. There's going to be great loss. There's going to be a great loss of cargo. If you keep spending money, it's going to be a disaster. If you keep dating him, there's going to be a disaster. Come on. If you keep spending money you don't have, there's going to be great loss. If you keep playing around with God, there's going to be a disaster. If you live 1 foot in and 1 foot out, there's going to be a disaster. If you keep talking about people behind their backs, there's going to be a great loss. Come on, somebody. But watch what the guys do. They do what we do. Verse number 11. But the centurion, instead of listening to what Paul said, followed the advice of the pilot and the owner of the ship. It's amazing because we don't know what's going to happen yet, but Paul is just trying to give some sound advice and some sound wisdom. And you need people in your life that are going to give you some sound advice and some sound wisdom. And that's what Paul's doing. He's saying, guys, I know you want to get there, but if I could just give you some advice, don't rush it. If you rush it, you're going to bring more harm than good. Don't rush it. And what we don't want is we don't want people not allowing us to do what we feel like we should do. And so we act like the guards in the story, and we say, well, I'm going to do what I want anyways, and I'm going to find someone who tells me what I want to hear. So I'll keep making the phone calls to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, until I hear what I want to hear. So the story goes on, and we're going to jump down a few verses. But in between these couple verses we're going to skip, we find that they continue on their journey. They don't do what Paul says. They continue on their journey, and all of a sudden they hit a storm. They hit the waves, and the wind comes, and the winds come, and the waves come, and they start throwing things overboard, just like Jonah's story. They start throwing cargo overboard. But they were worried because on this boat, Paul was a prisoner, and they had other prisoners with them. And they didn't want to let the prisoners escape when they got on land. So they come up with the conclusion, we're going to kill all the prisoners. And Paul, being the genius he is, he's like, excuse me, guys.
Excuse me, guys. I got something to say about that, okay? Got something to say about that, guys. Not going to happen, no.
That's how I envision it. And so we're going to pick up the story in verse number 21. It says, and they had gone a long time without food. Man, I didn't eat breakfast this morning, and I'm dying. They had gone a long time without food, and Paul stood up before them and said, told ya. Told ya. Gotcha. Should have listened to me. You should have taken my advice not to sail from Crete. Then you would have spared yourselves this damage and loss. Don't you love when you can tell someone that? Told you. You would have spared yourselves this damage and loss. Which means there is damage and loss in your lives that could have been avoided if you would have listened to the right voice. If we would just listen to the voice of wisdom, if we would have just listened to the voice of God, listen to the voice of someone who is standing on the word of God, if we would have listened, we would have avoided. You would have avoided that heartache. You would have avoided those wasted years if you would have listened to the voice of wisdom. If you would have listened to the voice of wisdom, you would have avoided that loneliness, that depression, that anxiety, that divorce, that teenage pregnancy, that abortion, that addiction. You would have avoided it if you would have just listened to the voice of wisdom. And what I've learned is that common sense just isn't common anymore. No one has common sense anymore. And if you don't want your life to be what God says it can be, then just ignore me. Ignore everything that me or pastor ever says. Just ignore us. But if you want all that God has for you, if you want to live a blessed life, you need to listen to wisdom. Get the right people in your boat. That's why I hang out with people that are older than me, because I want the right people in my boat. I listen to smart people. I don't listen to dumb people. I want the right people in my boat. And here's what I love about God. Even though these sailors had experienced pain and damage and loss, the next verse 22 says this, but I urge you to keep up your courage, because not one of you will be lost, only the ship will be destroyed. Last night, an angel of God to whom I belong, this is Paul, last night an angel of God to whom I belong and serve stood beside me and said, do not be afraid, Paul, you must stand trial before Caesar, and God has graciously given you the lives of all who sail with you. All right, so wait a minute. So in the first story, we saw that the wind was caused by Jonah's disobedience. But in the second story, we see that the stupid sailors who sailed off when they should have stayed should have died, but they don't because of one man. So in one story, the boat is going down because of one man, and in the other story, the boat is going to be saved because of one man. Which leads me to believe this: some of you are still standing, not because of you, but because of the person that might be in your boat that has been interceding for you. Can I have the band come back up? I'm not done. Some of it's not even because of you, because of the person in your boat that's been interceding for you. You would still be a drunk had it not been for them. Your family would have fallen apart had it not been for them. You would have given up a long time ago had it not been for them. You would have quit and thrown in the towel had it not been for them, because God is saving you and you don't even know it. And it's not even because of you. God is saving you. It's not even because of you. It's because of them. And now, guess what? You're blessed by association. Come on. You're blessed by association. I don't know about you, but I want some Pauls in my life. I want some Pauls in my boat. Because I know I make some bad decisions. And I make some stupid mistakes. And I want some Pauls which means I need someone who's been where I haven't been and has a stronger relationship with God than what I have. So when the wind comes, I can stand firm, and it's not even because I'm standing firm, it's because they're standing firm for me. Amen. I need to take a drink. So Jonah says, I don't want to do it, he said. Paul says, I trust and believe what he says, and I believe it will happen as he says. You see the difference in the two people? Who's in your boat? Who's in your boat? Whoever's in your boat is going to dictate your journey, whether you like it or not. You can have a dream, and with the wrong person in your boat, you'll never see it. You can have the right spouse, and with the wrong person in your boat, you'll lose it. You can have a good family, and with the wrong person in your boat, you'll miss out on them. With the wrong person, you will miss out and you will lose it. And with the right person, even though you mess some stuff up, you'll still get there. With the right person, even though you messed up your finances, God's going to turn it around and Dave Ramsey fix it. With the right person, God can fix it. These stories show us 2 points. The first one is this. Some of your problems are caused by who's in your boat. Write that down. Some of your problems are caused by who's in your boat. Not all of them, but some of them. The tension in your relationships is because of who's in your boat. The reason why you can't come out of that sin that you're struggling with, the reason why you still go down and not up, is because of who's in your boat. And here's what I've learned about people. People want you to succeed until you start being successful. People want you to succeed until you start being successful. And then they try to drag you down. There's this thing called crab mentality. Y'all ever heard of crab mentality? There's a lot of crabs in church. There's this thing called crab mentality. And it's where if you put a bunch of crabs into one pot or one tank, and you grab one and you try to pull it up, the other crabs are going to start reaching up and grabbing its legs to pull it back down. Almost to say, if I can't get out, you can't get out. Can I tell you that's how people are? I don't want you to get out of that depression because I can't get out. I don't want you to actually have a good marriage because mine sucks. Sorry, I said that. I don't want you to get financially free because I'm still bound. I don't want you to get close to Jesus because I'm far away. You have to figure it out. Do you have people that say, come on, go higher, go higher? Do you have people that are saying, come back down, come back down? You have to figure it out because with the wrong person, even though you have great intentions, you'll never get out. Sometimes it's a family member. Sometimes it's your mama. Just being honest. Sometimes it's a best friend. Sometimes it's a sibling. Sometimes it's a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Sometimes it's the person you're sitting next to right now. Don't look. Just got real awkward. What I'm saying is your destiny is too great to let who's in your boat keep you from getting there. Some of your problems are being caused by who's in your boat. And number two, some of your problems are being fixed by who's in your boat. Your life is better because of them. Your marriage is improving not because of you, but because of them. You have a better concept of your self-worth because of them. You believe you can do it because of them, not because of you, because of them. And if you get rid of them, you'll find out that you're not as good as what you thought you were. Some of your success isn't even because of you, it's because of them. And if you eliminate them, you will go down. And if they would have killed Paul, everyone would have died. Who's in your boat? We hear it so often in church as pastors, and not just our church, every church in the United States. I'm sure they hear this all the time. Well, I don't need that church. Anybody ever heard anybody say that? I don't need that church. And not just this church, but every church. I don't need that church. And as soon as they leave, everything falls apart. They say, I don't need that leader. I don't need that mentor. And they don't realize the reason they're succeeding is because of who's in their boat. With the right group, you will lose some things, but you won't lose your life. You see, the wrong group will have you holding on to things, keeping stuff. With the right group, you'll lose some stuff, but you won't lose your life. And that's the hardest part of this analogy of who's in my boat or who's in your boat. You feel like if you lose them, you lose your life. Well, if I get them out of my boat, I'm not going to have any fun anymore. If I get them out of my boat, I'm not going to feel any validation. If I get them out of my boat, I'm not going to have those memories anymore. And so you hold on to them, but you're really holding on to stuff, and you feel like if I lose them, I'll lose my life. The problem is, what you don't realize is that you're already losing your life by holding on to them. And when you let go of them, you actually find a life. I remember in my life, I was saved as a little kid. I remember getting saved at like 8 years old, and I told my mom and dad how I was going to beat the devil up with a bat with nails sticking out of it. I hated the devil. But I remember when I actually started living for God. It was in 2010 after I graduated high school. It's when I actually started living for God. And I realized that there were some people that couldn't come with me. And I knew it. I knew there were some people that couldn't come with me. And some of those people were my best friends. They were my best friends, my buddies. Some of them were girlfriends. And I had to realize that they were the wind. They were the storm in my world. And I thought, oh man, if I let them go, I'm a terrible friend. If I let them go, I'm such a terrible friend, I can't do it. What are they going to think? They have to be in my boat. But I'll never get to where I'm supposed to go if they're in my boat. So early on, there was a lot of lonely times in my life when I got saved, when I started living for God. Which wasn't the norm for me because I'm a people person. I don't like going anywhere alone. I'll call Kevin. Hey, what are you doing? Come with me to the store. I don't like going anywhere alone. And so I moved to Florida to get away from the best friends and from the girlfriends. And I had to start my life over. And while I was there, when I got there, my phone was blowing up. Hey, Jono, where are you at? And I'd find myself going right back to the old me, doing the same old things that I used to do. And I knew it was wrong, and I knew I had to get them out of my boat. So I'll never forget, our dorm leader, our house leader was a guy named Dave. And I was getting all these texts, and I gave him my phone and said, Dave, take my phone. Take my phone, keep it. And he kept my phone locked in his closet for 2 weeks because I had to get them out of my boat. And when I got it back, You wouldn't believe the amount of texts I had on that phone. Hey, Jono. Yo, Jono, where you at, man? We miss you. Come back home. Hey, babe. I love you. I miss you. Come back home. And I'll never forget, I called my parents crying. I called my dad. I said, Dad, you've got to change my number. Change my phone number. Please, today, do it. Change my phone number. I have to get them out of my boat. And I thought I was losing my life because I was so lonely. But what I found out is when I got rid of the wrong people, God started sending the right people. And when I let go of friends, God didn't send me friends that told me what I wanted to hear. They told me what I needed to hear. And what I found is when I got rid of the wrong people, God started sending the right people. Those people got in there, and there were things in my life that started to get fixed. Go figure. And some of you, you're in this conflict saying, if I give that up, I'll miss out on life. But I'm telling you, whatever that is already making you miss out and you don't even know it. The moment you give that up, life more abundantly can come in. God will send you the right people. He will send you the right boyfriend. He will send you the right girlfriend. He'll send you the right spouse. He'll send you the right coworker. He'll send you the right idea. He'll send you the right desire when you get the wrong out and get the right in. Yeah, you're going to lose some stuff, but you won't lose your life. Who's in your boat? Are they running from God, or are they trusting in God? And there's some people in your life you need to cling to and some you need to let go of. One more story and I'm done. Can I have everybody stand with me to wrap this up? Matthew chapter 8. It's a story about Jesus and his disciples. It's not on the screen. I'm just going to tell you about it. And Jesus tells the disciples, hey, let's get in a boat and let's go to the other side of the sea. And just like the other two stories, they're going to the other side. They're on the sea, and the wind and the storm start raging. And they go down and they get Jesus because Jesus is asleep. Not because he's running, but because he trusts God. He's at peace. He knows that God's going to do what he says he's going to do. And so he's sleeping, and they go down and they shake him awake. And they say, Jesus, what are you doing down there? We're going to die. And you're over here sleeping, and Jesus says, oh, ye of little faith. And he speaks to the storm, and he says, wind, be still, waves, be silent. And right then, the wind and the waves obeyed his voice. What I'm trying to say is this: is Jesus in your boat? Is Jesus in your boat? With Jesus in your boat, even though there's winds and waves, he can calm all of that. Because there's some stuff in our life, it's not about who's in our boat, it's just life. And my God is strong enough, and he's big enough to calm the winds and waves in your life. He can calm the doctor's report. He can calm the situation in your family. You know your kids are going crazy, but Jesus can speak to that, and he can calm it. He can speak to the situation at your job. He can speak to the situation about your friends. He can calm the haters, the backstabbers, and the backbiters. He can calm the people who are trying to pull you back down. Jesus has a way of calming the wind and calming the waves, but will only happen if he's in your boat. Who's in your boat? Father, I love you so much. Pray with me, guys. Love you so much, God. Pray that you would show us who's in our boat, God. I pray if we have the wrong people, God, we would get them out of our boat. Help us get the right people in our boat, God. Help us surround ourselves with Pauls. I pray that we would self-evaluate, God. Show us the Jonahs in our life that are running and causing the winds in our boat. God's speaking to some people in here. And there's some of you in here, you don't have a relationship with Jesus. And you need him. You need Jesus in your boat. Can I have every head bowed, every eye closed, no one looking around? You need to get Jesus in your boat. You need to accept him as Lord and Savior of your life. Maybe it's for the first time. Or maybe you haven't been living right and you need to rededicate your life to him. If that's you, you say, I need Jesus in my boat. Would you lift your hand? Real quick, you can put it right back down. Lift it, put it down. Amen. Hallelujah. I'm going to pray. I want everybody to pray with me, especially those who just lifted their hands. Say, Dear Jesus, come into my heart. Forgive me of my sin. Help me to live for you and to love you all the days of my life. Today I'm new. Today I'm changed. Today I'm forgiven. And today I'm free. In Jesus' name, amen. We're going to sing this song one more time. And if you want to come down to the altar and spend time with God, feel free to do that. Go ahead and start leading. Don't forget, tonight we have church at 6 o'clock. Please get signed up in a life group. Please get signed up in a life group. You can't do life alone. Get some people in your boat. If you sign up in a life group, you'll get the right people in your boat. Let's lead this song. You can be dismissed. Don't forget church tonight.
Oh, I was blinded by the scales upon my eyes. He came in like a light and burned up all the lies. He said,